It's really easy at Christmas to retell the Christmas story, to watch another nativity, to attend another carol service, or to sing a bunch of carols, and somehow miss the wonder of the true Christmas story. Jesus, light of the world, stepping down from heaven to live his life as a man on earth, choosing to put aside all of his glory, and not even just arrive as a powerful preacher or a worker of miracles, but as a helpless baby, trusted to a young couple who, if my experience of having a first child is anything to go by, would have felt massively out of their depth. Imagine that with the additional weight of responsibility, knowing what the angels had told them. I've always loved to try and put myself into the stories that I read in the Bible. Who do I think I would have acted the most like in a particular interaction? Where would I have been in the crowd? What questions would I have had for Jesus? And perhaps more importantly, what would I have done with the responses that he gave me? So when the challenge was set to write a new December song, it felt natural to spend some time returning to those familiar passages that tell the story of Jesus' birth, and to try and inhabit them to help me write a song out of them. The characters that I felt myself drawn to were the shepherds, often the feature of at least one carol in any standard carol service, the first to see the baby Jesus. But who were they in the society of the day? I've read various articles over the years that talk about how shepherds were at best insignificant and at worst seen as unclean in Bible times. Their standing in society very low. People wouldn't respect their opinion, they wouldn't have been invited to prestigious events, they would probably have been kept at a safe distance, not just due to the fact that living on a hillside among the sheep might have made them smell a little, but because they were perhaps just a little bit too rough around the edges. And yet, it's these shepherds that became the first to know about the birth of Jesus. These shepherds who the angels visited and declared that a Saviour, Christ the Lord, had been born. Sitting myself in the middle of that story, I'm pretty sure that I too would have clocked that this was quite an unusual experience, and that the message needed action. And so the shepherds leave the flocks and go to Bethlehem to see for themselves. I'd initially set off to write this song with a section of each verse introducing a different familiar character around the Nativity. Mary, Joseph, shepherds, angels, wise men, Jesus, etc. But as I started to think more about the shepherds, it felt like the song wanted to be written from their perspective. It seems like the announcement of the birth of Jesus to shepherds signalled from day one what this new kingdom was about. It wasn't like all the kingdoms that had gone before. It had a different thread running through it. It was a kingdom for outsiders. If family fortunes was running at the time of Jesus' birth, if 100 people had been asked who might the angels appear to when they announced the birth of Jesus, I'm pretty sure that shepherds would have received a big fat maybe a few outbursts of laughter in the studio if somebody suggested it. Surely the top answer was the religious leaders or wise men or the king. But no, through announcing Jesus' birth to the shepherds first, and having them be the first to see him, God was introducing the kingdom for outsiders. The kingdom that doesn't operate on the same rules as the kingdoms in the world that we see, but is so often entirely the opposite, where those that the world writes off become great in his kingdom. Jesus' arrival on earth, as the message puts it in John 1 verse 14, the word became flesh and blood and moved into the neighbourhood. It said loud and clear that his kingdom is for anyone who will believe and follow. Whatever your value in society and status, whether you feel that others value you or dismiss you, his kingdom is different. The song moves from the perspective of being among the shepherds to the current day. Could they grasp this tiny baby was God's rescue plan who one day would take upon himself our every sin? The invitation to those on the edge of society and those at the heart of society remains the same. Come. Through Jesus, God came down and made his home with us in our day-to-day lives. And sometimes those lives are messy, sometimes those lives are chaotic, sometimes those lives are full of dirt. But they don't scare him away. In fact, they draw him in close. Heaven's light has pierced our darkness, not only at the moment that Jesus the Messiah was born, but into the darkness of our lives. His light can shine if we'll join with the shepherds and worship and bow down.